What is up, guys? Rambling Collector back here again with a new comic ramble for all of you. And this one I am super excited to talk about, as this one has become one of my all-time favorite series to have read, not to mention one of the best new original science fiction that I've had the pleasure of reading. So this comic series, which goes up to about 7 total books as of now, is called Planetripple by Nicholas Anderson, also known as Planetripple Minnow's World. So like I said, the whole premise of the entire world of this comic series is that instead of taking place in outer space or just on some random planet, this I believe is planet Earth, but in the flooded Earth scenario, where the entire world is now just a vast, endless ocean, and has been so for hundreds of years. Because of this, humanity has had to contain itself within these massive submarine city-like structures, and not to mention they've also advanced in cybernetics, robotics, and everything as such in order to focus on survival. Not to mention, there's other things in this world such as mermen, and of course, pirates. Pirates that, as a matter of fact, have cybernetics of their own. And if that alone does not catch your attention, I don't know what will, guys. But to focus on the plot. So in this world, we have Minnow, a young woman who is a quadriplegic with both cybernetic arms and legs, as well as the fact that she is on the autism spectrum disorder. Now, me personally, since I am also on the autism spectrum disorder, albeit with Asperger's, so at a lower scale, honestly. Either way, though, when I first heard about this, my curiosity was piqued, so I went ahead and picked up the first book from Amazon. And I'll tell you guys right now, as soon as I first started the first book, from the first few pages alone, I got hooked, line, and sinker. And for the next maybe half an hour, I was stuck in this book until the very end. And by the end of it, I was left gobsmacked, amazed, and absolutely wanting more. So as of right now, this series is up to about 7 books worth. And keep this in mind, guys. Planetripple is not like your typical comic series. It is instead a series of graphic novels. So all in all, you get about 100-something pages worth of story and art to see. Not to mention, this is completely original. Nicholas Anderson, from what I understand, he actually draws every single panel as well as makes the story by himself. And that alone makes it all the better and really caught my attention, because I barely ever see any independent comic artists nowadays. But in all honesty, just the story alone, this whole flooded Earth, is what really grabbed my attention. Not to mention the whole intricacies of this world. Like, everything is now underwater, except as of now, by this point in the story, within the first book, we actually hear of how land has actually started popping up. The mountains that were once stuck underwater have now managed to rise above the waves and created a small chain of islands. So for the first time in hundreds of years, land has started to return to the planet. However, the pirates that I mentioned before have actually been hired by the elites of humanity to pretty much contain it and prevent anyone from setting foot on dry land. And honestly, that kind of story actually grabbed my... I don't know if I've ever read any other books as of yet that have had this kind of plot. At least as far as I'm aware. If I'm wrong, feel free to comment down below on others that are similar to this, and I'll check them out and see what I think. But anyways, back to Minnow. Her story, honestly, if you all don't at least pity her, or at least start wondering how the hell she's going to get out of the situations that she is in, I don't know what to tell you guys. Because seriously, from the first few pages, we witness as Minnow loses her own adoptive mother figure, and from there gets immediately treated like garbage by everyone on the ship, as they blame her for the former captain's death, whilst she still struggles with the fact that she feels responsible anyways for the captain's death, Andrea. And honestly, yeah, a lot of people will do this, guys. We always blame ourselves whenever we feel at fault from tragedy like this. We always think we could have done something more, but Minnow definitely struggles with this. Not to mention, the crew constantly treats her like garbage, like I said before, and you will understand why whenever you read the first few pages of this. Like, she is not in the best situations, but over the course of the comic, we see how she goes from a formal outcast on her own colony to essentially a worldwide hero, as she essentially goes on a one-woman crusade against the Barracuda gang of pirates. Yeah. So the one thing I do like about this is the different mech suits that we see throughout the series. We see some that are either used for work, like dock workers, or just transports, to full-on battle mechs that just wreck the hell out of the pirates. Granted, we don't really see those until like volume 7, but what we do get is amazing. Not to mention the design of the pirates' mech suits by themselves are also pretty fascinating, as they are essentially built to look like underwater creatures, like crabs, whales, you name it. They've got it. And honestly, guys, this one, like I said, had a personal ring to me because I myself am Asperger's. So being able to see a character with the same mental state as me was inspiring to behold, especially since the author himself is also on the autism spectrum. So seeing something written by an autism spectrum disordered person, with the main character also being on the spectrum, really piqued my interest, and since then I have not stopped with this series even once. And I'll tell you guys right now, the art style can be a bit rough to get used to, as this is very much hand-drawn, and it is not done by a team, but rather by one person. But I can guarantee you guys, as you read more, you'll see how the art style itself gradually upgrades and gets better and better. Hell, I would say right now, his current newest volume, Volume 7, has got to be the best artwork-wise that I have seen as of yet. Volume 6 definitely was a really good one, but Volume 7 was just amazing to behold art-wise. The colors are amazing, from like the darkest depths of the ocean to the brightness of a city or being above water, or just everything has a vibrancy to it that really manages to grab your attention as well as pulls you into the story. Granted, one small gripe that I would have is that sometimes the text bubbles would be a little bit small, a little bit cramped, but that is my only complaint. And besides, either way, it was worth trying to keep up with it. And thus far I have, and I have not regretted it ever since. And besides, the books themselves aren't that expensive, coming at around like $20-something. So it's a pretty decent grab for anyone who wants to like mass collect the series. All in all though, I would definitely recommend it if you want something a little more original, something that's a break from all the Marvel, DC, or whatever. If you want to see a unique science fiction, check it out. If you want to see an amazing story, I'd recommend this. If you want to see some really nice graphics and art style, all of which are taking place underwater, I would recommend this highly. Not to mention the world itself is fascinating. You have things like mermen, the pirates, the fight over getting to migrate to dry land for the first time in centuries. Not to mention the cool robotics and cybernetics and the processes that are made to keep them maintained or scrubbed or whatever. And honestly, the whole first 6 volumes does involve Minnow facing off against the Barracuda gang. But around volume 7, you see the change and the shift in story. And I'm honestly eager for more after reading it. Even though half the time I practically wanted to beg the author to please give Minnow a freaking break. Because the amount of things that she goes through, from losing her mother figure to constantly fighting and getting heavily injured in the line of duty against the pirates, not to mention her own personal traumas besides, like in her childhood, as well as her own self-hatred for herself and how she can't seem to think right. Not to mention a lot of people haven't really helped her with that. But like I said, to a lot of people this will be a bit of a heartacher. And sometimes you can relate to people like this, sometimes you can't, but at the same time it's a good way to gain insight into the minds of others, as well as to learn how to relate to other characters. And honestly, you guys, sorry, I still recommend this if you just want a new original story to read. Like I said, the books aren't that cheap, and they are really nicely done artwork. I'm probably blathering again, but honestly, you guys, give this one a chance. And I just want to thank you all again for listening. And if you liked this video, please let me know in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think. And if you have any other comic suggestions that you would want me to talk about, please let me know. But all in all, I would give planetripple a must-read rating at the very least. So honestly, 10 out of 10. Anyways, you guys, thank you again for listening. And this is Rambling Collector, signing off. We will see you in the next video.